Mike Locksley made major mistakes with Maryland's quarterback room.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And I'm also doing work at InsideBlackandGold.net. So make sure you guys head over to Inside Black and Gold for all your latest Terps news. And today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Mike Locksley made a major mistake when crafting this quarterback room for Maryland football. I know that this Maryland football's quarterback room is talented on paper, and there's talented in terms of the rankings and where guys were ranked in high school and how we evaluate some of that different stuff, whether it's the 247 ratings or on 3. Whatever the case is, Maryland has a couple of quarterbacks that were rated highly in high school. But eventually the high school ratings, the high school quarterbacks, whatever is the case with the ratings and how they put you, don't matter once you get to college. And it's how you actually perform on the football field at the college. And there's something to be said for experience and for guys that have been there, done that, even guys that are less talented. There's something to be said for putting guys in, giving guys a chance to develop, and putting guys in that are actually ready to play. And I just think Mike Locksley made a mistake with this quarterback room, and I'm concerned about it going into next year. Now, it's not like a couple-year problem. Maybe it could turn into that. But to me, it's more of a next-year problem that I'm really concerned about how Mike Locksley crafted this quarterback room. And it starts with a couple of people. Number one's Malik Washington right now. I don't know exactly what the plan is with Malik Washington. I don't know if coach is planning on playing him right away. I don't know if he thinks that he could be the guy right away, or if he's going to need a year to sit, or maybe 2 years to sit behind whoever he plans to be the starter. I don't know exactly his plan, and I think with the signing of Justin Martin, it made Coach Locksley's plan even more unclear and really hard to understand the vision. And I think it was a mistake. I'll keep it honest. I'll keep it a buck. I think signing Justin Martin, if he's the only quarterback you're going to sign, I think it really kind of puts Maryland's quarterback room in a really weird position. And now I don't know exactly what to expect. I don't know exactly what to think of this quarterback room. First of all, I have no idea who's going to be the starter, which is fair. You go into the season a lot of the time and you don't know who the starter is going to be. But I just feel like there's not an option that works well for Maryland football. If Malik Washington isn't ready, then what? Are you going to play Justin Martin, who hasn't played a ton of football? He hasn't made a bunch of starts at UCLA. This isn't a guy that's like a veteran in the room. This isn't a guy that has played a ton. And I think that really hurts us, because it's like we don't have a guy in that room right now that has made more than 1 or 2 college starts. And that scares me. And that, I think, is really going to hurt us, because we just don't have experience in that room. And for one, experience helps not just for the player, but for the player that actually has experience. Yeah, that's going to help them in games, decisive coverage, decide what they're going to do in certain situations, read the defense well, know what to do on game days and how to approach practice every day, and all those different things that come with having experience. Yeah, that stuff matters. But the fact of the matter is that the experience is also a lot of the time for the entire quarterback room to soak in. And when you don't have a single guy that has been there, done that for the Maryland program, that first of all has been in Mike Locksley's system, I think there's something to be said for that. Over the past couple of years, we've had guys that have been in the Mike Locksley system. We had Talia, of course, that spent a couple of years in the Mike Locksley system. And then, of course, Talia transferred from Alabama, so he was already used to a lot of the things Locksley was doing. When he decided to leave his brother in Alabama and leave Nick Saban and transfer over to Maryland, and decided that was the best case because Alabama had Bryce Young at the time, and he's now playing on Sundays in the NFL, and he's starting to get better. If you pay attention to the NFL, he's starting to look a lot better than what people thought he could be. So you had Talia, who was in the Mike Locksley system, and then Billy Edwards. Yeah, he didn't make a ton of starts. He didn't play a ton, but he had been under the Locksley system. He had been experienced under Coach Locksley, and I think that allowed Billy Edwards to have, it wasn't a perfect year. I wouldn't even say it was probably a good year, but I think that allowed Billy Edwards to have good games, to put up some stats, and for him to be ready to be the starter in the last year. And he started off well. I think once teams got used to him a little bit, I think he got worse, but he started off well. And I think that's what was a big part of it, was because Billy Edwards was ready to go. But I just think Mike Locksley made a mistake because we didn't get rid of Billy Edwards. Billy Edwards is gone, which I think really hurts us because we don't have the experience now in that room, where I would have felt really good about this room if it was Billy and Malik Washington. And I think letting Billy get away was a mistake by Mike Locksley. And I don't know what the NIL situation is. And I'm not saying I wanted to pay Billy Edwards $1 million to stay at Maryland Terrapin, but I still think it was a mistake letting him go, because I just don't really see how bringing in Justin Martin really helps this quarterback room, because Justin Martin hasn't played. So I really doubt he's going to come in and be really good right away. There's a reason he's only made one start at UCLA after being, it's not like this kid was like a 3-star recruit, a low 3-star recruit, and UCLA expected him to take a while to develop. Like, no, this kid was a 4-star recruit, top 250 kid out of college or high school, and I think UCLA expected him to be the starter eventually and take that, but he just didn't. And there's a reason for that. And so I just think Mike Locksley made a mistake of not bringing in anyone with experience, any quarterback that has actually played. And I think that's going to hurt Maryland football. And I think when we look at Malik Washington, yeah, that's probably might be the best thing that has happened to Mike Locksley. And that's why this is such a kind of interesting side I'm taking, because I think Malik Washington has a chance to be really good. So I'm not saying the quarterback room doesn't have potential. I'm just concerned about it going into next year, because I think it's completely fair to think he might not be ready to play next year. He might not be ready to play in the first 6 games, or the first 8, or the first 12, which would be the whole season. He might not be ready to go. And so the fact that we bring in a kid in Justin Martin that's not experienced, that hasn't played at all, I don't feel great about putting him out there. At the end of the day, you still want to win games. You still want to play well. This isn't the NFL where it's like year one quarterback. It's the less about winning the games and more about his development. Your team isn't that good. Like, that's not really the case here. I think there is somewhat of an argument to be said for that, but I think a lot of this is we want to win while also allowing our young guy to develop. And I think if we were able to keep Billy Edwards or bring in a veteran in the transfer portal, even if he's played some lower level football, would give Malik Washington another hand in that quarterback room, another person that could really help, a guy that's been on the field, as well as a guy that could play for a little bit while we let Malik Washington get ready. Because I know he's enrolling in the spring, and yeah, he could be the day one starter. There's definitely a possibility of that. But what if he's just not ready? And I think there's a pretty strong possibility of that too, of him just not being ready. And I think that's a mistake that Mike Locksley made. And I think now there's going to be way too much pressure on the kid to come in right away, play at a high level, because Justin Martin hasn't really showed it. We don't know what he is. And so he's almost in the same boat as Malik Washington, a guy that hasn't really played. He made the one start against Penn State, went 22 of 30, 167 yards, completed 73% of his passes in that game. But it feels like he's in the same boat as a high-level recruit that just hasn't gotten the chance to play. Obviously, Malik's coming in as a freshman, and this kid is just finishing up his sophomore year. but still, it's like two guys that are highly talented high school guys but haven't played. Sure, it can work itself out. Sure, it can go well, but I just think there's a strong chance of it potentially not going how we want it to go, and it not working out how we want it to. And I think there's a strong case that it just we needed someone with experience. We needed to give Malik Washington time, and that he might start his college career wrong, or his freshman year might not go as good as he wants. And you never know what can happen from there. Guys enter the portal, guys do different things, and it can have an effect on multiple seasons, which I think you don't want to happen. So you just want Malik Washington to be ready. I think he's what matters the most. And I think Mike Locksley made a mistake not either keeping Billy Edwards, which I think would have worked. I don't think Billy Edwards is amazing. I don't think he's great. I don't even know if he's good at the Big Ten level, but he's decent enough to get through 6, 8, the whole season if Malik Washington needs that amount of games. And I just think that Justin Martin, I don't know, because he doesn't bring experience. We haven't seen it. He was a highly talented high school kid, but what does that count for now heading into your third year? So I question it. I do think it's a mistake by Mike Locksley. We'll see if it ends up actually being a mistake, because I'm predicting it to be a mistake. I don't know if it's actually going to be one yet, but I do think there's a chance that we look at it and we're going to want a veteran in that room. And I don't know if that's going to happen. And I didn't talk about MJ Morse. I'm expecting MJ Morse to enter the portal. If MJ Morse comes back, he only made a start or two for Maryland last year, so it's really not that different, even though he's played more college football. I feel better if he was back, but I don't see him coming back, but maybe he ends up coming back. Maryland basketball absolutely can win the Big Ten. Talk about that next. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute, like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I have been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Gametime has deals on the tickets right at the start of an event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Maryland basketball can absolutely win the Big Ten. After watching this team play against Syracuse and watching this team play the entire year, I think there's a really good chance that Maryland basketball could win the Big Ten this year. I just think what we have, what we bring, I think there's no reason to think that this team can't win the Big Ten this year. And Andy Katz, who does a really good job of breaking down college basketball and Big Ten basketball and all these different things, he says that he thinks the Terps will contend in the title this season. And I saw that and I said, you know what? I think there's a really strong chance that we make the Big Ten. We win the Big Ten regular season title. It's weird because it's like, it's not just, I don't want to say we'll win the Big Ten tournament, because I feel like that's a little bit different. I feel like it's winning the Big Ten tournament is a bit more random. I feel like winning the Big Ten regular season title is a little bit, makes a little bit more sense. It's a little bit more consistent. It's not just like you lose once. It's really like the best team wins that, usually in the Big Ten, and in any conference, the SEC, ACC, whatever it is, the Big East. It's usually the best team wins the regular season conference. The team that's going to be the highest seeded in March, usually from that conference, is usually the one that wins the regular season tournament. I think Maryland could win the Big Ten tournament as well, but that's kind of far away. You kind of got to see who you match up against. I think they're as good as anybody in the conference, to be honest, and I think we can really do that. But that's a little bit of a different conversation. But I'm looking at Maryland basketball and the talent that we have, and I think there's no reason why this team can't come up with enough wins to win. Right now, when you look at it, it's still early and we're 1-1 in the Big Ten Conference, obviously. And there are teams that are in front of us, but it's only three. Only three teams are 2-0 already in conference. So you see, teams are already beating each other up. And I expect it to be that the entire year for the Big Ten. When you look at it, Michigan's 2-0 in conference, UCLA's 2-0 in conference, and Michigan State's 2-0 in conference. And I've watched a lot of these top end teams play. Purdue is really good. I've seen Oregon; they're really good. And I just believe that Maryland's as good as anybody this year. When we played Purdue, who I think has the argument to be made to be the best team in the conference, I didn't feel like Purdue was better than us. I felt like they had a little bit more experience and they were able to crack it out at the end. But I felt like on paper, team to team, I felt like we were more talented and the better team than Purdue. I thought that Derek Queen was the best player on the floor. I thought if we made one simple change in our game plan, if we didn't play, we ended up going under the picks for Braden Smith, and then like our big man, whoever it was, Reese or Queen, didn't step up far enough on the screens and different things like that. And I thought if we just played that the right way and we played that better, then we would have been able to stop him and being able to beat Purdue. And I felt like we were better than Purdue, and they're one of the best teams in the conference. I've seen Michigan State play. I don't think Michigan State's anything crazy or special. They're one of the top teams in the conference. They're 2-0 right now. And I just think we have everything we need to win the Big Ten regular season title. Now, could we end up coming short? Yeah, definitely. But I think for us, if we come up short, I still think we're going to be in a good position where I think we finish at least top 5, top 4, top 6 in the conference and more than good enough to make the tournament. But there's only 3 2-0 teams right now, so no one's just going to walk through. We don't have some overpowered team. Like Purdue with Zach Edey at times, it was like, what are we even doing with them? Like, it's really hard to beat. They're going to put up a really good Big Ten conference schedule. I don't see a team that's going to quite do that this year. That's just going to put up a crazy Big Ten conference schedule. And we're 1-1. We got our loss out the way, and we already played one of the top teams in Purdue. And so that means we have easier teams, and a lot of these teams that are 1-1 haven't gotten some of these really good teams out the way yet. And so I think that the fact that we're 1-1 with a lot of teams in the conference, and the fact that we got Purdue out the way at 1-1 is a much stronger place to be than be 1-1 and say we had lost to Ohio State instead, or something like that, or we lost to Washington next week and we were 1-1. Like, it's different when you get a good team. If you lose to a good team, it makes it easier to win later on, because then when your schedule just gets easier. That's just the way it is. If you guys understand that point, if you're losing to a good team and getting out a good team, the fact that we lost to a good team while a ton of teams in the conference are 1-1, a lot of those teams didn't lose to a team like Purdue, or a team like Oregon, or even a team like us. They lost to somebody worse in the Big Ten, and now they have to play some of the better teams, and it'll get evened out later on. And I just think we have everything. I think we're a balanced team, unlike last year. We're not a freshman-dependent team like last year, where we were freshman-dependent, but our freshmen weren't ready to go. And I think we really found a rhythm in terms of shooting the ball, and I think we have everything we need to realistically win the Big Ten Conference. Let's talk a little bit about Zion Elee. I feel like I haven't mentioned the 5-star Maryland's highest recruit ever's name. I don't feel great about him sticking as a Terp. We'll talk about that next. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has which players will score a touchdown. There's Thursday Night Football tonight. If you want to bet on DJ Moore and the Chicago Bears to score a touchdown. You can do that. Or you can bet on how many points each team will score. And there's so many different things you can bet on FanDuel right now. College basketball, the NBA, the NFL, whatever the case is, college football playoffs, all the bowl games. There's bowl games today. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Zion Elee. So Maryland commit Zion Elee. I'm just not confident that the kid is going to stay a Maryland Terrapin. I think this kid is special, and I think if we can bring him in, I think it's really big time for Mike Locksley. But keeping a kid like Zion Elee is really, really, really tough. The 5 stars rated as arguably the best player in the class. Not like like Malik Washington's a top 50 player in the class. Like Jalen Gilchrist is a top 100-ish player in the class. Zion Elee is the best player in the 2026 class. And keeping a kid like that from St. Francis, even though he's a hometown kid, and that's what we've been wanting from Mike Locksley. We want him to keep the homegrown talent here. And I've been saying you're probably not going to get the 5 stars, the top 20 kids, that the 1 or 2 kids in the class that are just different and end up being top 30 type players. You're probably not going to get those. But the latter guys, the guys that are ranked in the 90 to 350 range, that are high 4 stars, blue chip types of guys, I said, we want to get them from the DMV. But Mike Locksley said, no. We can get anybody. We can get the best player in the nation in Zion Elee. I just don't know what strings are being pulled. In today's college football, there just is. There's always going to be something behind the line, something in the shadows that we just don't see. It's just what it is. And I don't know, because I'm not behind the scenes. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know that there's something. And you guys know what I'm talking about with NIL today and all those different things today, and what's happening with the money and all those different things that make up college football today, with the NIL, the money, all these deals, these brand deals that people are getting, that a lot of these athletes are getting. And I don't know what Maryland had to do to get Zion Elee. I don't know what the NIL situation is. But my thing is, I've seen these other schools come in for kids with going after kids with more money than Maryland has. Like, let's talk about Bryce Underwood, who was the number 1 quarterback. And he's a quarterback, so everything's exemplified a little bit. But the way that Michigan flipped that kid from LSU is scary. It's scary because they offered him a ton of money. And LSU's a place where I'm pretty sure they got a good boat of NIL money. Maybe not quite the degree to what Michigan has and whatever Michigan's doing, but they got a lot of NIL money for sure. And so the fact that a place like LSU couldn't hold on to Bryce Underwood and give him more money is scary when you're a place like Maryland that has a top 3 recruit in the nation. You know, some of these blue bloods can get involved, and they can start talking about price, and they can start talking about deals, and they can start talking about brands and all these different things that make up today's college football. And money talks. That's just the way it is. And I can't blame the players, because I would be doing the same thing. If someone offers you $1 million, let's say Maryland's offering Zion Elee $1 million to come play. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying, but LSU's like comes in and is like, we'll do 8, or Bama's like, we'll do 7 million for you to come to school here, or 5 or something like that. What are you going to do? Say no to that? That would, to me, that's a little dumb, to be honest. And so, especially when you're a kid like that, this isn't a kid that's like a midish, not like a midish, but he's not like a 4 star or something like that. Like, this kid's the best player in the class. At a prominent position that I think Maryland really needs. So I just think it's way too early. He has the Maryland next to his name, but I haven't even talked about it a ton, because I'm like, is he really going to say a Terrapin? Like, and I don't know. And so we'll see exactly what happens. We'll see if Mike Locksley can hold on to him and see if it can become a ripple effect in that class and we can land other kids. But it's hard to say with the Zion Elee situation. Obviously, amazing talent would be really cool to keep, but you just don't know. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.